What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Killer Drone, and welcome back to the Minecraft Farming Guide. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Guardians and how these guys spawn, as well as how to make a very effective farm. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get right into it. So like we do all of our videos here on the Farming Guide, we're first going to start off with how Guardians spawn, as well as give some tips and tricks in order to make this process a lot easier. But if you guys only want to see how to build the farm, then I recommend skipping to this timestamp on screen now in order to just see the farm build. But without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into how these guys actually work. Okay, so before we get into how the Guardians actually work, you first need to find yourself an ocean monument. You can find these guys by simply exploring around in the ocean of your world, or you can use a third-party program like Admist that will find these guys for you. But once you have them found, you are going to need to conquer the ocean monument. And the way that you conquer these is there are 3 Elder Guardians on the inside that you're going to need to kill. Now, Guardians do hit very hard, so it's better if you just avoid them completely. The way that you can get Guardians to not attack you is to take all of your armor off in the game and then drink a potion of invisibility. So what you're going to need in order to take down one of these temples very easily is a potion of water breathing or a conduit so that you can breathe underwater, and then a potion of invisibility. Once you have that, you should be able to come up to the ocean monument very easily. None of the Guardians or Elder Guardians will target you, but you still will have mining fatigue. Mining fatigue makes it to where you cannot mine any of the blocks of the ocean monument until you destroy the Elder Guardians. But that's okay because we're going to kill these guys very easily. There are 3 spots inside of an ocean monument that the Elder Guardians can spawn in. They spawn 1 in each wing, so 1 here, 1 there, and then 1 at the top of the temple up here. So what we're going to do is we are going to come to the top of the temple. We're going to make a T shape, kind of like this in the top of the temple, place down a piece of TNT, and then place a block of redstone on top of that. This is going to blow a hole in the top of the temple and give you access directly to the Elder Guardian's chambers. Now, I've already taken out the Elder Guardian out of this area and out of this temple, but that is the easy way to destroy these guys. Go ahead, do that at the top over here, and then do it on each one of the wings. So do it here, 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 TNT in the middle, and then a block of redstone on top. Once again, you're going to blow right into the center of this guy, and then down into the room where the Elder Guardian sits. Now, once again, I've already cleared out the Elder Guardians from this temple, but that is how you would do it if you need to in your world. So I just want to note with that TNT trick that I just showed, you can still take damage from the Guardians. If you hit any of the Guardians or you hit any of the Elder Guardians, you still will take damage from their Thorns effect. If you see one of these Guardians and they have their spikes out like this, when you hit them, you will take some Thorns damage back to yourself. So that goes the exact same for the Elder Guardian. So you're not completely invulnerable with the invisibility potion, but if you have some good food or even a potion of health, you should be completely fine taking down the temple in this way. It's one of the easiest ways to take these things on. Now, once you have all 3 of the Elder Guardians killed and you have run out of mining fatigue to where you can now start demolishing the temple if you want to, I recommend going through and exploring your temple because you're going to need a sponge room. Sponge are going to be very important for this process because we're going to need to drain part of the ocean. We're not going to drain the entire area of this farm, but we will need to drain out part of the center area. So anyway, what you're going to want to do is come through your entire fortress here, your entire ocean monument, and what you are looking for is a room that looks like, let's see, it was right around here, right here. This is a sponge room, and you're going to want to take all of these sponges and then go and smelt them. If you smelt them, they will dry out and turn into a sponge that you can use to remove water from an area. Alternatively, if you don't want to smelt these guys, you can go and place them in the nether, where they will immediately be turned into dry sponge. That is a way to save on fuel and is much, much easier. So highly recommend that. But go ahead, take all of your sponges. You should also get 1 sponge per Elder Guardian that you kill. And now it's time to start talking about the Guardians themselves. How do they spawn? So Guardians actually have some of the easiest spawning mechanics in the game. They can spawn anywhere in the 58 by 58 area of the ocean monument itself. So you have quite a large space to deal with here. You also have a limitation on height. So the Guardians can spawn from Y level of 39 all the way up to Y level of 61. So from the base of where this Prismarine is, where the floor of the Guardian Temple is, all the way up to 1 block below the surface level is where Guardians can spawn. So anywhere in this area. And then for the height, it is 39 up to 61. Now they do have one last key component, and that is that the Guardians spawn better if they have a full block above their head. If they have access to sunlight, to daylight, they will fail in spawning 95% of the time. But if they have a block above their head, so say inside of the temple, then they will spawn at a significantly increased rate. So, in order to maximize your spawn rate, it's going to be ideal to put a roof over the top of your farm. So it is at this point that we are going to start the construction of the farm. However, I do have a couple of prerequisites that will make your life a ton easier. First prerequisite is going to be get a haste to beacon. You're going to need to eliminate most of the ocean monuments, so a haste to beacon is going to be very, very useful for you. Another key component is probably going to be a conduit. That way you have underwater breathing as well as night vision while you are under the water working here. Last but not least, I do recommend you continue using your invisibility potions. That way you don't have to deal with the Guardians while you're working around here. But without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into the farm build. Okay, so let's start actually constructing this farm. What you're going to want to do is come to one of the corners of your temple and go down by 1 block from the edge and place a block out like this from the corner. So this block should be even with your Prismarine blocks that are right here. Now all you're going to do is wrap a ring all the way around the outside bottom edge of your ocean monument. So do this exact same thing all the way around the outside. So at the front of the monument, do not follow the inside edge of the monument here. This is actually still spawning space because it's a 58 by 58 area. So what you're going to do is just come straight across the front like so with your glass. You don't want to cut off this area because Guardians can spawn in this space. Next, what you're going to want to do is build up these walls all the way up to the surface of the ocean. Now, you can do this out of glass, you can do this out of cobblestone, you can do this out of any block that you want to. Some people like to use glass because they think it is pretty. Other people like to come with an easier method and get sand out, and then they'll just use gravity in order to fill in these areas like so. But basically what you are doing at this point is you are making a massive box around the entire ocean monument. So you can either do this sand placing method to make your walls, or you can go with a prettier design and use glass. But basically, make an entire box right on top of where you did your glass just now, all the way up to the ocean surface, all the way around. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is mark out the center of where your ocean monument is. This is super easy to find because the top of the ocean monument is the center. All you need to do is come up to the top here, and these 4 blocks, just mark them in some type of distinguishable block. I'm going to use orange concrete because it's super easy to see from far off. So that is the center point of my entire farm. So now you should be left with something that looks like this, a massive box all the way around the outer edge of your ocean monument. Now this is where your Haste 2 Beacon Efficiency 5 pickaxe is going to come in handy, because you're going to need to remove the entire ocean monument. What you're going to want to do is come down into the water and dig out an area to where you are standing on Y level of 40. So anything that is above Y level of 40, you're going to want to remove. Haste 2, Efficiency 5, this will take you about 30 minutes or so in order to do. So go ahead, get to digging, get rid of your ocean monument, and then we'll continue with the farm. So now you should have something that looks a bit like this. The entire ocean monument has been cleared out except for one layer of blocks at the very bottom of where the ocean monument was. This is going to act as your floor, so go ahead and fill in the entrance portion of this as well with whatever block that you want to. I'm going to use Prismarine because you should have plenty of this left over from removing the ocean monument anyway. So go ahead, just fill this in all the way over to the glass wall, and you should be good to go. So now you should be left with something that looks a bit like this, a completely flat floor where your ocean monument used to sit. Now what we need to do is work on making the inner wall of this farm. So what you're going to do is come to your middle point and then count out 15 blocks in each direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then on the end of that block, place down a piece of glass or a piece of sand, whatever you want to do, because this is where your wall is going to be. So just so you guys can see the dimensions of this, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, just like so. Do this on each and every side, and then all you're going to do is connect this up with a wall all the way along the side like this. So a connecting piece like so, and then bring this all the way down to the floor. So you're basically going to be making a box just like you did on the outside, but now on the inside of the farm as well. So now we are left with this. We have one big outer wall on the outside and then a smaller wall on the inside. Now what we need to do is drain out this inner square as well as dig this inner square down to Y equals 30. So in order to drain this area, what we're going to do is we're going to count out by 4 blocks on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then place down some sand walls. This is just going to allow us to easily section off areas. So go 4 blocks out, place down a sand wall like so, and then do the exact same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a sand wall here, and then you would connect them up here to make a little subsection of water. So it would basically be a 4x4 section of water. Once you have a 4x4 section of water, you simply take your sponges and go downward, and you can remove all of the water for that section. Let me go ahead and get this set up, and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. Okay, so we now have a little subsection of the water closed in. Now all we're going to do is drain this area. The best way to do this is to place a block on the surface level of the water, just like so, and then place a sponge block next to that. This is going to give you a relatively flat area below this for you to do the exact same thing. So once again, at the water level, and then once again, place down your sponge. You can do this all the way down, just like so. Place down a sponge, glass, sponge, and you'll slowly drain out all of the water from this area. Once again, instead of smelting all of your sponge, which can take quite some time, put a nether portal over here at this farm while you are working on it, because if you place a sponge down in the nether, they will immediately be dried. So, go ahead and do this for the entire section of the farm. Make yourself some sand walls. Once again, make them 4x4 sections. Drain out all of the water, and then you should have a flat, dry floor. So now that we have all of the water drained out of the middle here, what you're going to want to do is lower this floor in the middle down to y equals 30. Now, some ocean monuments, you may already be on the floor of the ocean, which means this is just going to be a little bit more digging. In my case, my ocean monument was actually up in the air a bit, so I have water underneath my ocean monument. So it's going to need some more water draining for me, but every ocean monument is going to be a little bit different. So just go ahead, lower this floor down to y equals 30, and that'll give you the ability to both have an XP farm if you want, or an immediate guardian killer if you want. So let's go ahead and let's just lower this floor. Okay, so as you can see, the center portion of my farm has now been lowered, and it actually looks pretty good on the inside as well, because you get a nice view out into the ocean. So added bonuses if you have your ocean monument floating a bit. This is going to be a cool little thing to have underneath. Maybe put some coral reefs or something like that for decoration. But that is not the point of this video. This is the farming guide. So let's go ahead and let's start working on the farm. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is get in the water streams for the guardians. So what we're going to do is come to the outside border, the outside edge of the guardian farm, and build up by 5 blocks to this wall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to do this all the way around the outside wall. So you're just going to increase the height all the way around by 5 blocks. Okay, so once you have your outside wall increased by 5 in height, you now need some temporary blocks. Any blocks that you have a lot of, that can be dirt, that can be cobblestone. As long as it's not a gravity block, it will work fine. What you're going to want to do is come to this outside wall and come even with the water and build out by 7 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're going to want to do this around the entire outside of the farm. Just make a big ring. This is going to be so you can add in your fence gates much easier. This makes it a lot easier to add all of these guys in, and you will have to add a lot of these guys in. I recommend having some type of tree farm for this part of the design, or making some spruce trees, some of the mega spruce trees that are 2x2. That way you get a lot of wood per chopping one of them down. But anyway, once you have all of your temporary platforms in, the basic shape of the fence gates is like this. You're going to go 1 block up on this outside most fence gate and place in fence gates like this. Underneath that, you're going to have water sources. And then on the inside of that, you're going to have your fence gates going to the outside end of your platform. So you should have 6 fence gates coming out this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to the outside. Make sure that you open up all of your fence gates just like so. And you should have something whenever you're done with this that looks like this. So this will be continued along the entire outside edge of your farm. This exact thing circled all the way around. Once that is done, you can remove the temporary blocks that are underneath, and all of the water will fill in back underneath the fence gates perfectly. So you don't have to worry about messing with water for this farm, as long as you put in the water sources that are below these fence gates here. Okay, so just so you guys would get an idea of what this looks like, here is all of the fence gates with all of the temporary blocks in still. Now all I need to do is add all of the water on the underside of these fence gates, make sure that all of them stay open, And once again, this does need to be source blocks. So you're going to have to run along here with a water bucket and kind of go back and forth, making this all source blocks. So it's going to take you a few minutes to do, but this has to be done in order for all of the water streams to work. So go ahead, add in all of your water, open up all of your fence gates, and then remove all of the temporary blocks from underneath. Okay, so once you have all of your temporary blocks removed from the farm, you may end up with something that looks like this, where you have a too high water source on the outside edge, and then on the inside, you have yourself a waterfall that is flowing backward toward the fence gates. In order to fix this easily, what we're going to do is come to one of the corners of our farm and go at a diagonal, placing water sources on the underside of those fence gates. So just like so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out this way, and I'm going to pick a fence gate like this, and I'm going to shift and then right click with a water bucket. So just like so, it takes a little bit of timing to get it right, but also make sure that your fence gate stays open. So if you happen to close one, make sure that you open it up right after. Once again, just shift and right click, shift and right click, and go all the way in a diagonal, all the way to the last corner of the farm, and place another one right there. And as you can see, all of this has filled in with water sources all the way down the entire edge. Now, over here, it does look like I missed another water source over here in the corner. So I should... Oh, no, it has now fixed itself. So I guess it was just delayed. Not bad. So you'll probably have to do this for each and every one of the corners of the farm. So come to a corner, do the exact same thing, go at a diagonal, make sure all of your fence gates are open. But that is the easiest way to fill back in all of the water if you have that issue. Okay, so for the next layer of fence gates, what you're going to do is come to your inner wall of your farm and go one block into the water. Place 5 fence gates going out toward the last fence gates that you placed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like so. Open up all of your fence gates as you are walking back to the wall, and then do this all over again. Do another 5 and another 5, and you're going to go all the way in a ring, all the way around your farm once again. So now you should have something that looks a bit like this. Now it is time to get in the very last fence gates for this farm, and that is you need to come on top of this wall, place down a fence gate, and then place a fence gate on the side, and then just go in a circle all the way along the outside edge of your farm, making a loop. This is going to stop the water from going over the edge and into your area down there. So just make a loop all the way around, open up the fence gates so the guardians can still pass through them, but this is just to stop the water. Okay, so now that you have all of your fence gates in, it's now time to get in all of your water streams. Probably the easiest way to do this is going to be with more temporary blocks. So what you're going to do is place a temporary block here on top of your highest fence gate, and then another temporary block here. Remove the first temporary block, and then just make a trench going all the way around the outside edge of your farm. Just follow these fence gates to where you have a little trench for you to put down some water. The reason that you're going to want to do it this way is because if you do 2 water sources like this next to each other, you can grab from the one next to it and then place water sources down. It'll just make it a lot quicker. Then whenever you remove all of these temporary blocks, things will flow absolutely perfectly right over the edge of your farm. So now your water streams should look something a bit like this, but we have one more thing that we need to put into the top portion of this farm, and that is a bumper. This is going to keep the guardians from flying way out into the center of this platform here, and instead we'll keep them very close to the walls. So basically all we're going to do is come out from your fence gates by 2 blocks, so 1, 2, and then make this block right here, your third block, is going to be your bumper wall. So you're just going to take this all the way around the inside edge of the farm. Make sure that you have a 2-block gap from each of the fence gate sides. So remove those two, continue going this way, and you're just going to make another circle all the way around. Once you make that circle, you're also going to drag it down by another 4 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should be a total of 5 blocks tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you just drag this around the entire area. So fill all of this in just like so. And this will be your bumper to keep the guardians from flying out too far. Okay, so now you should be left with something that looks a bit like this. A 5-high bumper wall in order to keep the guardians contained once they come through this water stream to make sure that they're falling relatively straight down. Now what we need to do is make a decision. We need to decide if we're doing this farm for drops primarily or for XP as well. If we are going for a drop-only farm, meaning that you're not going to get any XP from the farm, you're looking at getting somewhere around 30,000 drops per hour. However, if you also want to get XP from this farm, your rates are going to significantly decrease to about 15,000 drops per hour. However, you will be getting the added benefit of about 30 levels of XP per 2 to 3 minutes. So decide what type of farm you want to build, but I'm going to show how to do both here in this farming guide video, starting with the drops only farm. So if you do not want to build the drops only farm, then wait until I say, let's do the XP farm now. Okay, so if you only want drops out of your farm, the setup is relatively simple. Because we dug this all the way down to level 30, all we need to do is take out some magma blocks, come to one of the walls, and dig out 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. Do this all the way around the edge of the farm in a complete and total circle of this bottom level. Once you have all of your magma blocks in, then all you need to do is add a 4-high wall. Do it out of whatever color or whatever block that you want, but this is just to keep the guardians contained. They kind of bounce around once they hit the ground, so to make sure that they don't fly out of here, just do a 4-high wall just like so, and do this once again all the way around the bottom of the farm. So now you should have something that looks a bit like this. All you have is 4 blocks of magma out toward the wall, a 4-high wall on the inside, so whenever the guardians come out of their water streams, they'll bump up against this wall, fall straight down, and most of them will die on impact. Now, if they do not die on impact, do not worry, the magma blocks will do 1 or 2 damage to them, and they will die. Now, the easiest way to pick up all of their drops from this is to use hopper minecarts. Run a hopper minecart system underneath all of these magma blocks to pick up all of the items. I'm actually not going to set that up for this farm, but I will show you guys how to set one up by using the farm that I've already built. So let me fly over here, and I'll show you guys real quick how to set up these rail carts very, very simply. This is probably the easiest way to set this area up. So what you're going to want to do is have 8 minecart systems set up. And if we go ahead and we remove the floor for this area, just like this, so / replace air. As you can see, this is the rail system. What we have is a minecart on top of 2 hoppers. So we have a double hopper unloader. We have a powered rail, standard rail, and then rails just running around in a loop pattern, just like so, underneath the magma blocks, going back and forth until they run back into the rail right here. Since they are traveling this direction, they will remain going this direction and go right back up there to unload. Whenever they come back down again, they'll take this path out. This is the exact same thing that I have set up on this side. And if you can see underneath here, well, let's do the other side because I broke that side. If you see under here, the exact same thing, just going back and forth, and then the minecarts will come back into this area where they'll go right back up. So very, very simple way to set up this farm. Also, some of the sides will be shorter than the other sides because, let me just show you real quick. remove all of this. Since this side, I have the entire length of the farm, that means that this side will be longer because it's not covering that corner. But it's the exact same concept. Come down this hill, all the way around with the powered rails, do some turning rails, back with powered rails, turning rails, back with powered rails, all the way back, and then just run it back up this hill. That is the easiest way to set up the minecart tracks. Now for the minecart unloader, what you're going to want is 2 hoppers run into whatever storage solution that you want, a comparator coming out of this hopper into a block with a redstone torch on the side of that, into another block, into a comparator, and then back into this powered rail under here. This is a double minecart unloading system, which means as long as this thing is on, whenever the minecart stops, it will be above both of the hoppers, meaning both of these hoppers are extracting blocks out of the minecart. So this is a really interesting system. If you guys want to see a video on how to make some of the different minecart unloaders that I use in my farms, let me know. I would totally love to do a redstone guide on that if you guys are interested. Okay, so now let's do the XP version of this farm. So you're going to take a significant decrease in drops in order to get the added benefit of XP. So here is how we do it. Find the center point of your farm however you want to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag some blocks over from my center point that I already have marked. And this is going to be where I'm going to have my drop chute. Now, this can be on any side of your farm. It does not particularly matter because this is a perfect square. So this is going to be the center of my drop chute. On each side of where this is, I'm going to place a bit of glass right underneath this 5th block of our bumper wall. So we're basically just going to make a trough here. So just like so, we should still have a 5-high wall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with a floor now, and then this 2-block gap that is going to be here. So if I go ahead and do this, this is going to be the center where our guardians are going to fall down and fall into our XP trap. Okay, so all we now need to do is extend all of this flooring all the way around the underside of the bumper wall. So just like so, we already have a wall on this side. We already have a wall on this side. So we're just adding in a floor all the way around for the guardians to be caught on. So now what you should be left with is a trench going all the way around the inside most portion of your farm, with a 2-block gap trench in the middle lined up with your centerpiece for the guardians to fall down. So now all we need to do is get in some water streams to take guardians from that end of the farm over into your drop chute on this end of the farm. Okay, so in order to do your water streams, what you're going to do is start on the opposite side of where your trench is. So since this is where my trench is, I'm going to follow the center point all the way to the opposite side of the farm. This is where my water streams are going to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 6 water buckets and I'm going to place them just like this. So I'm going to mirror the trench that is on the other side of the farm. So as you can see, you will now have water flowing in each direction evenly. There is no point in which a guardian would fall down here and get stuck being pushed into a block sideways or anything like that. They're going to fall down and they're going to get a direct route one way or the other. So now what we're going to do is we are going to come to the end of our water streams and we are going to replace the glass with some packed ice or blue ice. Whichever one you have most of, that's what you're going to use. Place down some stone pressure plates and then place down some water to continue your water stream. Now, whenever you get to your corners here, you'll see that you sometimes have water that goes directly into the corner. This would actually trap a guardian here to where he couldn't move and he wouldn't continue to move forward. That is not what we want. So whenever we come to the corners here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to stop the water stream 1 block short. So what I'm going to do is right here, right before we get into these corner pieces. I'm going to replace with packed ice and then with stone pressure plates. Now what I can do is add in some water buckets going along here so that they go here, they'll go right across the packed ice and then into this water stream. And there's no point in which the guardians are going to get pushed up against the wall or get stuck or anything like that. So then at the end of this water stream, once again, just get some packed ice. Again, add more water streams, and then go to the end of that. More packed ice, more pressure plates, and this is basically the easiest way to move guardians around. Once again, if you come to a corner that it's going to be kind of a tight fit, like here, if I were to do this with the packed ice and then the pressure plates, if I put in this water, well, I need to stop it for the corner. Well, if I want to stop it one block short, well, then we're going to have this issue where we have source blocks just sitting here. That's not what we want. So what we're actually going to do is push this water source block back by one. So we're just going to move these pressure plates back. That way we can move this water source back. So now, once again, we have everything moving forward like it's supposed to. Get to the corners, place 3 down, and continue on. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. This is the basic method of how to do this. It's pretty simple once you play around with it, so I'm going to do it to the other side real quick. Okay, so before I put in the last 3 water streams that we need on each side, I'm going to go ahead and make our drop chute for the guardians to fall down in. This is just going to make it a little bit easier so I don't have to fight against water, but if you want to go ahead and put those in, by all means, go ahead and do it. So what we're going to do here is we are going to stop the water first and foremost over our trench. So we're going to place some signs right on top of one another, right along our trench like this. So just like so. Now the water, whenever it flows to here, just like so, you can see that the water is stopped by the signs. We can do the exact same thing on this side, and this just stops it from making a bit of a mess. Now what we're going to do is we are going to drag down these walls all the way down to the bottom to y equals 30 so that we have a nice long area for these guys to fall down in. This is going to have water at the bottom of it, so the guardians are not actually going to take any damage from it. We're going to get another method to deal damage to the guardians. But for right now, we just need a tube to keep these guys contained and right in this area. So go ahead, drag down all of these walls, get yourself a tube, and then I'll bring you guys back in just a minute. Okay, so I now have a tube going all the way from the floor down here up to where the water streams end. I also have a too high gap for me to fit through. That way we can come up here and add in our lava blade. Now, this lava blade is going to deal damage to the guardians before they get down to the bottom. That way, whenever they get to us, they are a one-hit kill with a diamond sword. So what we're going to do is from these signs that are blocking off our water streams, we are going to go down an additional 5 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we are going to place signs right on top of one another just like so in order to hold up our lava. So you should need 6 signs for here and then 6 signs to hold back that water. So 12 signs in total. And now all we're going to do is add in lava on top of these signs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 buckets of lava. Now you can probably cheap out on this and just do lava in these 4 corners on the top layer, but then it's going to be flowing and it may look a little bit weird. So do whatever you want. If you have the time to go and get the lava buckets, go ahead and do that. If not, then just cheap out, get 4 lava buckets, put 1 in the top corners, and you should be good to go. Now, I want you to notice that this is 1 block below where your water source ends, or where your water streams end. So the guardians are here in this water, then they fall 1 block before they are in the lava, then they will fall through all the way down into your water down here. So right down here, what we're going to do is get ourselves some iron trapdoors, place them here and here, get ourselves some type of power source like a redstone block, and then place some water buckets toward the back to move the guardians toward us. Now all I'm going to do is grab some more iron trapdoors, place them on the roof up here for us to fit through, and we should be good to go. The last thing that we need to do is add in some type of collection system for the drops. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this water for right now, get rid of that, come down here, and I'm just going to add in some hoppers and some chests. So let's remove this just like so. And I'll place a chest there with a chest on the side of it. And then a chest there with a chest on the side of that. Run some hoppers into these chests. You can do a more expansive collection system if you want to in your own build. But for right now, I just want to be able to collect the drops up. So once again, placing back down the iron trapdoors, I can access both of my chests. And now just add back in the water. And that is your system complete, except for the soul sand. This entire farm is going to be bubble activated, which means that we need to come back into where all of our fence gates are, and all along the bottom, down here where the guardians spawn, we need to put a layer of soul sand. So go in here, type in soul sand, or in your survival world, you'll need to go and collect soul sand, and you're just going to fill the entire bottom layer everywhere that there is lava, or with everywhere that there is water, you are going to want to fill with soul sand. What this is going to do is whenever the guardians spawn inside of the bubbles, they're going to end up here and then be pushed across into your trap. This entire thing is going to be bubble powered, and it's really quite awesome. Okay, so I now have all of the bubble columns in, but as you can see, this area has gotten very, very laggy. We are running down at about 40 FPS, which is not going to be good for playing in this area. So what we're going to do, especially if you're on a lower end machine, is go into your options section, go into video settings, and change your particles down to minimal. This is going to significantly increase your FPS because it's not going to be rendering in all of these bubble particles constantly. It's just going to do the bare minimum amount of bubbles. So now you can see our FPS has jumped back up to around the 100 mark. So that is very nice. Now the very last thing that we need to do for this farm to be completely running optimally is to add a roof. Now we do not need to add a roof to the entire farm if we do not want to. If we want to leave this open to the sky, we can totally do that. If we want to leave this area open in this area where the water streams are, we can do that. We only need to close off the area where the soul sand is. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come up by 5 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like so, and I'm going to bring a roof all the way across here, and this is going to significantly increase your spawning rates in this area. So completely fill this area in with a roof, and then your farm will be done. So one last thing that I forgot to mention, come over to your drop chute where your lava is, and place 2 more blocks right above where your signs are. 2 blocks high, just like this, so you should have something that looks very similar to this. All this does is make sure that all of the guardians drop from the exact same height, so they're all at the bottom with the exact same damage taken. It also keeps them from jumping back and forth between each of the water streams, thus making this area much faster. So just put 2 more blocks up on each side on top of the signs. Makes it a lot better farm. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for this farming guide for this Guardian farm. There's a couple of finishing things that you might want to do. You may want to come back with your bumpers and add in 1 more block on top if you have some Guardians that are escaping. These guys are a little bit pesky whenever it comes to staying into these streams, but the mass majority of them are going to stay in there. And the ones that don't, they're going to have a miserable time because they're going to fall straight to their death. But you may want to come and extend this out by one more block. That will give you a 6 tall wall here for your bumpers, which will be perfectly fine. It just adds a little bit more materials to the list. But this is already a pretty heavy material list for this entire farm. But once again, you're getting somewhere around 30,000 drops per hour if you're doing the drop farm. And if you're doing the XP version of the farm, which is what this is, then you're getting about 30 levels in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so now for the frequently asked questions portion of the video. I'm going to start off with the one that I'm asked the most. Does this work in Bedrock Edition? No, this does not work in Bedrock Edition. Bedrock Edition actually has some weird spawning mechanics with Guardians, where I think they only have 25 spots that Guardians can spawn in, whereas here in Java, we have a ton of different spots that Guardians can spawn in for the Ocean Monument. So, no, this does not work in Bedrock Edition, or I guess it doesn't work well in Bedrock Edition. The next question that we're going to get is, where do I AFK? Well, I actually have a data pack installed today that will show you guys probably the best area to AFK in. So if I go ahead and run function, SS, and then we do create red sphere. This red sphere is where things cannot spawn around the player. And then this orange sphere is the area where mobs can spawn around the player. So basically, mobs can spawn anywhere between this red sphere and that orange sphere. Anywhere in that area is where mobs can spawn if I'm standing right here where this center says. So if I'm standing way up here in the air, you can see that we are cutting off a pretty huge portion of the farm up at the top and even a little bit down at the bottom. So, what is the best place to AFK? Well, I would say probably down here at the bottom in the center of your farm. If we go ahead and we remove our red sphere, just like so, and then we add it back down here, you can see that we do have some mob spawning that is going to be cut off just a bit, but it's nowhere near what it was way up there. Now, if you really want the most significant rates for like the drop farm, you're going to want to get out of the area and come over into this area here in order to AFK. You don't want to be above the spawner in any way. You want to be kind of off to the side and still up in the air. But for the average player, be right down here. Just stand right here at the center, at the bottom of the farm, and you will be completely fine. Your rates will not be impacted significantly by the, what is this, probably 10 blocks in which mobs can't spawn. It's not going to hurt that much. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I do hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Farming Guide. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it, as well as if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. Also, if you have any questions, I highly recommend joining our Discord to ask them, or ask them in the comments section down below. Tons of awesome people here in our community that can help you out, as well as our Discord if you need to ask me questions. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. You guys have a great day. Die! Nice.